Hello, welcome in everybody. We are back on Two Spot Monkeys Live. I'm Jim, joined as always by Tom. Tom, how you doing?
Jim, it's great to be with you. It's been a rough week for a number of different reasons. You and I are well, I believe. But as we're going to kick off today's show, yeah, it's been just a really kind of a down week, uh,
Yep.
which is weird because it's back to school. Um, you know, college football week 0 is this week. There's the real reason we're coming together today. The main topic of being all in. And as I've been joking with you offline, not on the podcast, I can't keep all in and all out straight. So as I shared with you, my thinking on the matter is all over. So, but yeah, I'm just glad to have time with you this morning talking pro wrestling. But we do have to kick it off with some, really just disappointing news.
Our plan here today is we're making our head-to-head picks for All In, and we were going to jump right into those, but the wrestling world was dealt a 1-2 gut punch over the last 2 days. We're reporting on Friday morning. Wednesday, we got the news that Terry Funk, Hall of Famer, all-time great, had passed away at the age of 79, and then shockingly, last night, Thursday night, got the news, or Thursday afternoon, whenever that was. It was in the evening, as well as doing my trivia night, because I saw it afterwards. Got the news that Bray Wyatt unexpectedly passed away of a heart attack yesterday after we knew he'd been sick for a long time. I listened to a lot of Sean Ross Sapp. I know I mentioned that here a lot on the show, and Sapp had been saying for a long time that it was medical. It was not, mental health. It was not an injury. It was medical. And he would say that he wasn't going to release any more info. He clearly knew some more things. But unless the family had asked him to, or Bray had asked him to. So, which I respect the heck out of Sapp for doing. There's a right way to do reporting, and that's why I support the site that I do, and some other sites that do really well too. But he did release then, with the family's permission, last night after the news that Bray had COVID, probably back, I'm assuming, around WrestleMania when his Bobby Lashley match got canceled. And it exasperated some heart issues that apparently were there, and but he was on his way to getting cleared from all reports, and unfortunately, unexpectedly died of a heart attack. And I don't know where to start with those, Tom. I mean, what was your? I hate to say what was your reaction, because what was your reaction? But
Yeah, I mean, it's fair though because it's two different reactions. And I think when you look at Terry Funk and you look at the legacy of Terry Funk, and for me, it's like NWA, like 88, 89, 90 ish for me when I think of like Terry Funk, and then ECW. Those are the things that I remember the most for Terry Funk. And not again, when I think of Terry Funk, like it wasn't like someone that I was like, I am a huge Terry Funk fan. But I can tell you that I never saw something that Terry Funk did where I was like, that stunk. So, it's one of those things where sometimes you are graced by an incredible performer, or exposed to an incredible performer. And again, we only really begin to go, wow, what a miss, what a missed, not opportunity, but just how sad, to reflect on that, and how grateful I guess you can be to have experienced that. I took a photo with Terry Funk at Ring of Honor. I think it was Glory by Honor 1, maybe Glory by Honor 2. Long time ago. Anyway, I didn't pull that photo out, but he was gracious to me in that brief moment, and just really sad. Again, different situation though with Funk, as I shared, because almost 80 years old, had a number of health related issues. The other thing too, mentioning Terry Funk, Beyond the Mat. Well, just a huge part of Beyond the Mat. So those are the things that I'll recall and remember. Born to be Wired is the one match I'll name specifically. Just he and Sabu. I remember that was when tape trading was a big deal in the late 90s, and just the buzz around, the barbed wire match that they had and how brutal it was. I think it was August of '97 in ECW. So Yeah, so that's Terry Funk for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your reflections before we move to Bray, because it's completely different.
Yeah. Funker for me has always been one of my favorites. Like you said, there's just nothing he ever did that I didn't enjoy. Even Chainsaw Charlie, which was ridiculous and stupid. For whatever reason, I loved it back in the Attitude Era. Like, I don't know why they felt the need to do that, not just have him be Terry Funk. And eventually he did. It was a very short lived. And I've got somewhere around here, I've got the Chainsaw Charlie figure. I changed my figures. You might have, if you're watching on YouTube, you might see in the back, I've got the Terry Funk Coliseum collection on the side, and there's a Bray Ultimate here behind me. But that late 80s, early 90s, but really late 80s WCW run when he attacked, he was a commentator for a little while, which he brought a lot of energy. I don't know if he was what do I want to say, traditional color commentator, but that was part of what was great about Terry Funk. And then of course he attacked Ric Flair after, I believe it was after a Flair Steamboat match, and they were off to the races on that feud, and just enjoyed the heck out of what he did. ECW, like you said, his ECW figure that got released in the Mattel Elite line came out right before I started collecting again, so I didn't get it. It's being re-released in the Greatest Hits in the next round, so I'll definitely be picking that one up. I was already planning on picking it up before this week. But yeah, I just really always enjoyed Terry Funk. Like you said, that was the one that we kind of had an inkling here for the last year or two. There were a lot of reports that he wasn't doing well. He had a couple of times where he was going to make appearances, and then he canceled and made a final appearance a couple of years back, I think now. So it wasn't stunning, but yet a bummer when you get the news.
And it's, I'm just recalling it now, even though I've seen it a few times this week through a couple of different social media things. We had the benefit, if I'm recalling right, when we were last together in 2016 at the WWN weekend of events. They did the night of appreciation for Terry Funk or something along those lines, where they did an angle, and Sabu and Mick Foley and Terry Funk were all there. So
Larry was bumping his butt off.
Right, yeah. So pretty cool that we were there and got to experience that. Maybe the last kind of major spotlight for Terry Funk.
Yeah. And I'm just looking over to the side here on a shelf. I've got my autographed picture from Funk that night. And then I did get a picture with him. I think it's been lost to not backing things up on old phones and things like that. I'm going to look through things and see if I can find it. I don't think I ever printed that one off stupidly, so that I had a hard copy of it. So I may not have that picture with him, which is a bummer if I don't. But nothing I can do about it, I guess, at this point. That was a no-brainer for me when I was buying tickets and things for that weekend, was to buy the meet and greet for Terry Funk, so that I could. And I went in. You got to go in early, to get in line for him, and I was pretty close to the first one in line, just because of the timing of when we'd gone to the show. And it was cool to just chat with him, and super gracious, nice guy. So gonna miss him a lot, and I'm sure Peacock, the WWE Network, will probably have a reel of great Terry Funk moments. If I have any time over the next week or two, it'd be fun to relive a few of those on Peacock. The other one, Bray. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I don't remember if it was before or after we clicked. You and I are both over 36 years old, and just it's a gut punch. I mean, 36 is too young. Period. End of sentence. And Bray was always somebody that I enjoyed. I looked forward to what his stuff was, even when it made no sense sometimes, and when it was, Bray's last match is now that pitch black weird thing from the Royal Rumble, which I wish wasn't the last match for so many reasons. Of course, obviously, I wish it wasn't his last match because I want to see him more. I'm going to miss him as a performer, but that was just a weird one to end up being, what ends up being his last match, at least last televised. I don't know if he worked any live events after that, but I think the thing that got me most on that one last night was, I want to say it was the Asylum. One of the groups I'm in on Facebook posted a picture of Bray, JoJo, his fiance, JoJo Offerman, and their two little ones, and him playing with his two kids. And I mean, that just about wrecked me, because, you know, he was a dad, and everything you hear about Bray Wyatt is that he was a super nice guy. You know, very creative, very well thought of. Although Vince McMahon apparently wasn't a fan of his, whatever. Vince is an old fart and doesn't understand things. So that's a whole different conversation for another day. But seeing that, and, you know, I'm not a father at this point, still hope to be perhaps one day, but you are, obviously, a father. And I don't know, like, that part for me just was another reminder of, yes, of course, we're going to miss Bray Wyatt as a performer, but Bray Wyatt was a human being and had a family and friends who are going to miss him dearly. You know, there've been, of course, as you would expect, the outpouring on Twitter, as there was with Terry Funk as well. But just a different, like you said, a different angle on things. So curious about your thoughts when you heard the news about Bray.
Yeah, absolutely shocked and saddened by the whole thing. And then when you read more, like, I mean, good, bad, or otherwise, I always want to know what really happened. And so, like, I did really appreciate that Sean Ross Sapp eventually was able to share more. And then when you read about that, you know, I found myself going, you know, I know COVID is still a thing, right? We've made tremendous progress from the shutdown in 2020 and the vaccinations and the healthcare and you name it, right? And we don't need to go down that path because I know there's a lot of different opinions about all that stuff. The bottom line is, you know, this clearly is still an illness that can have some really long-lasting effects. This is a situation where it's being named as a contributing factor as to this. And just to think, like, being 36 and having a heart attack that causes you to pass away, man, I can't imagine. I can't imagine, like, being that person and what he was going through physically, mentally, as that happened, which is probably a little dark to think about, but I do think about that because I put myself in those shoes. Like, you know, I go, man, I don't treat myself the best, and I've never had a heart attack, and Lord willing, I never will. That being said, you know, gosh, you know, it's just, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't seem fair. And again, from whatever thing that's come out online, I think it's different for me with Terry Funk, for Bray, because all of his colleagues are currently, like, really, like, active people. Like, they're people that are more visible, both on our screens and in social media. And he was their friend, and everything that you said is consistent. So it's not a line. He was a good person. He was a good friend. He was a good human, and he does leave behind a fiance and children that now have to live their lives without their partner and their dad. So it just stinks. And amazing creative mind, amazing. He's a game changer for WWE when you think about the Wyatt family and you think about the things. And again, not everything he did worked with me. Like, the Burnt Fiend is a good example. I saw a picture last night of, I think it was Alexa Bliss on her Twitter, had a picture of her and him, and she's like hugging him, and he looks like he's smiling behind all the grossness. And I was like, yeah, that didn't go over well for me.
See, and I bought the figure, man. I loved it.
For sure. And again, like, from an actual like visual standpoint, it's stunning. It's different. Like, but if you look at the entire run from the Wyatt family to the Fiend to what came after, even up until this past January, like with the Pitch Black and the evolution of the character, it's just sad. It's just really sad. So, yeah, that's about where I'm at right now. I wish I could say more. My heart breaks for those that knew him. I don't know him. We don't know him, right? We're fans, but we just, I think empathy comes into play here. When you can empathize with others that are grieving a loss, you know how that feels. We know how that feels, right? So if you're a human, you likely know how that feels, so you can make that connection in that way.
Yeah. So we're gonna try to pivot as best we can, and pick matches here for All In. But rest in peace, Funker. Rest in peace, Bray. Follow the buzzards, right? Let's they this sounds so cliche, but they'd want us to enjoy wrestling. You know, they'd want us to to do that. So we're going to try to pivot and do as best we can and talk about that. Head-to-head quick update. Just we talked about it, I think, 2 weeks ago when we were here. Unfortunately, we had to miss, or 3 weeks ago, I guess, because we had to skip the 1 week, and then last week, there was some family things that came up in your world, Tom, and thankfully things are getting a little better in that world, in that realm. I know. So best wishes to the person involved, who unfortunately had a little accident, but is doing okay, it sounds like. So, and then, but we did talk about quickly, I think, SummerSlam. Maybe we didn't. Maybe I don't remember. 7-1.
No, we did. I feel like we did. I feel like we talked about SummerSlam.
What did we do? I don't even know what we talked about.
Our schedule has been off, and it's going to continue to be off until we get into a routine in the month of September. Again, I think next week we're not going to be able to record because of the holiday weekend, and then the week after we had intended to record. I have a possible work conflict that might now adjust, so it'd be great if we do, because that's the night after Lions Chiefs, and it's the week after All Out. See, I did get it right that time. So yeah, just there's a lot going on, but I think as we get into the month of September, hopefully we'll be able to put a string of a few consecutive weeks, if not more, together.
Yeah, we're trying, folks. We're trying. Yeah, we had actually originally, I think, talked about potentially making All In and All Out picks this week. All Out has only had 2 matches announced, so we're not going to do that. And at one point, Tom thought one of those was at All In. So, which is, again, when you have pay-per-views on back-to-back weekends, it's hard to keep that straight regardless. And yeah, so Tom and I both 7-1 at SummerSlam. Tom has a 19-3 record so far this year. I have an 18-4. We have a number of shows left to go yet. All In here. We have Payback and All Out next weekend.
That's right. Payback too. Holy cow.
Yeah. So since we won't be able to record potentially next weekend, stay tuned to our Twitter. We'll post our picks there for those, assuming we're not able to. Payback and All Out, Fastlane, Full Gear, No Mercy, Survivor Series. And I feel like there's been another NXT announced for December or something. I don't remember, but there probably will be. So
and yeah, stay tuned to our Twitter, not our X.
Yes, because that's stupid, and I don't call it that. All right, so head-to-head. So because of standings and the last time that we weren't the same, I will take the first pick, is what we've determined moving here into this show. And
and you've already spoiled it for those that are watching. But yes, we're picking 11 matches. The first match has been announced on a podcast by Tony Khan, probably connected to an angle that will air on the taped Collision on Saturday night. Now go ahead and show the graphic, Jim.
We're on YouTube, and so spoiler alert, I just spoiled it for you. Sorry. At 0 hour, which is interesting because a week or 3 back, MJF said the biggest 0 hour ever, 1 match only, and talked about their match. And then now Tony Khan decided, yeah, maybe I should put a second match on, which makes some sense, frankly, unless you were going to have the ROH match go, 40 minutes or something. And given that MJF and Adam Cole are both working twice that night, I don't necessarily see that match going 40 minutes. I don't think it's going to go 2, but they're workhorses, but good Lord, don't kill them over in London. Okay, guys. But they've added a 0 hour FTW title match. Jack Perry defends against Hook. This one makes obviously all the sense in the world from a storyline perspective. Jack Perry is still growing into the heel role. I don't know that it's totally clicked for me yet, although I like that they're trying something different with him, because I think the Jungle Boy thing had gone about as far as it could. So I'm still kind of, the jury's out for me with him in this role. But I like that they're trying it. I'm willing to give it time for him to grow into it, because it's, it's a new thing for him. And I don't know anything about Jack Perry and his, I don't want to say personal life, but his, how he is, outside of the ring. So I don't know how much of, maybe Jack Perry is a little bit cocky in the back. I don't know. We've heard that he and CM Punk had a little tiff. But then again, if you work around CM Punk, chances are you're going to have a little tiff with the guy at some point, it seems like. So I don't know if this is Jack Perry turned up to 11 and maybe that's good. Or if this is, a complete opposite of Jack Perry. The comp I think of in that case is I've heard a lot about Austin Theory is such a nice guy, and some people think that's why the cocky gimmick just is not necessarily working for Austin Theory, because it's not him turned up to 11. Maybe that's Jack Perry. I don't know. Hook, Hook's good. I like Hook. This is a tough one for me, which is ridiculous. It's a 0 hour match. But because it's 0 hour, I'm going to go with Hook and him getting back the FTW title. I don't think Perry needs it, and he was talking about retiring it anyways. So you could still have him keep on with his heel thing without that title. And if you're going to continue to use it as an unsanctioned title, and we got to have 14 of those in AEW because we don't have enough real ones, I'm going to go Hook, but I really have no idea.
Yeah, it is tough here. Clearly, Jack Perry doesn't need this title as an added component to his gimmick. By him unseating Hook to begin with, that was enough, in my opinion, to propel him. Had they continued with the desecration of the title by having him beat ECW legends, that could have been cool. But you have Jerry Lynn can't perform. Jerry Lynn leads to Rob Van Dam. That was interesting. That was fun.
Yeah.
Where do you go after that? Do you go to Sabu? Is Sabu even able to perform? That, Sabu would have been probably the ultimate payoff, so you wouldn't have, in my opinion, gone right to Sabu. Starting with Rob Van Dam pretty early was a big one. Again, the people who were big performers in ECW 23, 24 years ago, when this FTW title was part of their stories, aren't either active performers anymore or are not in a condition to perform. So I'm going to go with Hook here as well. And I think Hook then maybe retires the title. And that gives a happy ending to this. I think this also, because of the nature of it being on 0 hour, and I believe how the other match is going to go, you do want people to leave that first hour of pay-per-view with a little bit of feeling good. Yeah. And I don't think the next match is going to leave people feeling good necessarily, or there's going to be a lot of questions one way or the other. So I will also go with Hook. But this could be a coin flip. It's going to be interesting to see, again, the angle where Jack Perry is supposed to retire this title airs on Collision the evening before All In.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Taz get physically involved in this match. At that big of a show, I could see it. He's not bumping or anything, I know, because of his neck, but yeah, I could see it. I could see, because Taz has clearly been holding back, and intentionally making it known that he's holding back, and talking about, even talking about it, although he talks about it on commentary. I could see Taz getting involved, and I think that would be a huge pop. Anything's going to be a huge pop with 80,000 plus at All In. So I meant to ask you too before we started, Tom, the spectacle, obviously, of 80,000 and 90,000 plus, that's WrestleMania level, right? That's huge. Kudos to All Elite Wrestling. Are you planning to watch this show live on Sunday, or is your schedule with your family just not going to allow that? Or
good question. So the schedule with the family, alluding back to why we didn't record last week, we have a pretty significant injury in the household that is kind of changing kind of what we would be doing as we're trying to wrap up summer. I don't know what this weekend holds. It's not our traditional kind of family chore weekend, those alternate weekends. So I think we're going to just have some downtime. This is not available at a local theater. It's not even available at a local Dave & Buster's, because those have been kind of my thinking to go to if I were to want to watch this. I do really want to see it. I thought the entire card looks awesome, and we're going to get into this as we talk more about the matches. There's a few matches on here that are really must see for me. I just don't know if that's going to be my reality. So how about yourself?
Yeah, I am planning to. So not to continue on the down note that we started the show on, but Sunday is the 3-year anniversary of my brother's passing. So when I put that all together in my head a couple of weeks ago, which somehow it hadn't, when the date was announced, it just didn't all click. I said, yep, that's what I'm doing with my Sunday. That's going to be a rough day anyways. So I'm going to sit and watch 5 hours of All Elite at Wembley. because I'm guessing the pay-per-view is going to run about 4 and 0 hour at it on top. So it starts 11 o'clock my time. I already have told my wife from 11 o'clock till 4, I'm going to be downstairs. Get ready. It's almost football season. You know, it's what's going to happen anyway. So might as well start it a couple of weeks early. With that in mind, I was trying to decide between All In and All Out because I don't think I'm going to lay $100 out in a week for 2 shows. And my brother's anniversary is really the crux, and the fact that, like you said, I want to see this show. This show's, you know, they've done a really nice job building this show, and they're going to have to rush the crap out of the build for All Out. So if I'm going to spend $50, I'd rather $50 on the show that they built really well. So and to honor my brother that way. So that's my plan on Sunday, is to watch a whole bunch of really good wrestling. Tom, you get the first pick here on the Ring of Honor World Tag Team title match. Aussie Open of Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis defend against Better Than You, baby, of MJF and Adam Cole, who will later in the night main event the whole show.
Yeah, pick is Aussie Open. I would love to see MJF and Adam Cole win, because only for the fact that it would give more shades of gray to the main event, and I've loved what they've done. I know that you are still watching Wednesday's Dynamite. They do a great sit down with MJF. They do a great sit down with Adam Cole.
I've seen both of those.
Yeah, so they each get to see video of the other that they wouldn't have seen from their front of the view perspective. So that's been really interesting. And then in the background here, you've got Roderick Strong and the Kingdom, which is an odd pairing. I'm really interested to see where things shake out. I think I know where it's going to go, but I hope I'm really surprised. And so something's happening here that will allow Aussie Open to get the win, even though I think that they're going to go, man, Cole and MJF could have been the champions. And with Aussie Open coming back, and I feel like I keep saying Aussie, it's Aussie, like Aussie. Aussie Open needs to be a good consecutive run with Ring of Honor's tag team titles. I think they are the team to do for the titles what the Lucha Brothers, not that they couldn't, but just that they didn't, and it's of no fault of their own.
Right, they weren't booked to do it. If I'm just curious, do you know, has Aussie Open broken the record for most Ring of Honor title defenses? Because I feel like lately that's the way we've gone. I know I don't know that Annette's listening live. It doesn't look like we have a viewer, live somebody right now, but perhaps she is, because sometimes that doesn't update. In our fantasy wrestling league, there's our counter, our first mention of it. She has both Fletcher and Davis. She overtook me for the lead a couple of weeks back, and man, if they haven't been a big part of that, with title defenses just all over the place. So I would love to pick MJF and Adam Cole just from the fantasy wrestling league standpoint, but I can't, because I'm with you. Roderick Strong and the Kingdom was going to be my exact point as well. I think they get involved somehow here and end up costing MJF and Cole, which then leads to more dissension as they build towards their match later in the night. And we'll talk more about that, obviously, when we get there in the main event. But yeah, Fletcher and Davis keep the belts here, I believe. And what I expect to be a really good match. All 4 of these guys are just amazing. So this should be really, really fun. But they get the win. We go to the trios title match, which was just announced here on Dynamite past week. The House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, who are the champions, even though I didn't put the little C there on our graphic, versus the misspelled Acclaimed. Wow, I did a great job on this banner. The Acclaimed of Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, and a badass coming for Wembley, Billy Gunn. Maybe they're going to get away from the daddy ass name, and I would be okay with that. So I'm torn here because of 1 or 2 reasons. The biggest reason is I love the House of Black. I love what they've done with the trios titles. I feel like they've done more to elevate those trios titles than maybe any trios champion they've had. They feel cohesive as a unit. They're defending them regularly. They make them seem important. They've got the open house rules thing where you get to pick a rule, although it seemed, I feel like the last trios title match they had on Collision or with CMFTR. I don't think there was a rule.
Nope, there was not. Yeah.
So maybe they're moving a little away from that, or using it at different times. So I don't know if that'll be invoked here at Wembley. I do hate that twice now they've used the rule of Julia Hart gets banned from ringside. Like, that's just it. In all the rules you're going to pick, if you get to pick one of the rules in this title match, I get that she's, interferes and things like that, but like, there's not some other rule you would pick than just, well, let's get rid of the girl at ringside.
And to that point, had they made an emphasis to point out how she had cost other teams the match or the titles previous, it may have had more emphasis. Right. I don't recall that being a very well stated thing.
Or had it been like the Bloodline, where every single time they were winning, it was because of Julia Hart interference. And I'm really glad they didn't do that, because the House of Black does not need that, nor does Roman Reigns. But that's a different story for another week. Then it would make sense. But alas. So I hate to say it, but I think the Acclaimed have to win the titles here. I just think that's the way the story goes. With Billy coming back, he teased retirement and all of that. Now they could do something weird and Billy Gunn turns. Gosh, don't do that. Please do not put Billy Gunn in the House of Black. Don't do it. It's been a thought I've had that they might go that direction. Don't do it. I think the Acclaimed have to win the titles here. Even if it's a short run and they drop them back, to the House of Black. I'm thinking of this from a WrestleMania standpoint, from an 80,000. I just think that reaction will be worth the title change.
How are they going to get the venue dark when it's in the middle of the day?
Yeah, that's going to be, well, it's not the middle of the day though, over in.
Oh, that's right. It's 5.
It's evening. That's why so if it's later in the show, it could be darker. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
We'll see. Yeah. I'm going House of Black, so we have our first difference. I always thought from not from the start, but as they were growing and as they were evolving, that Billy Gunn would eventually turn on Bowens and Caster. I don't see him joining the House of Black, but I do wonder if he still does turn. He was very clear in his promo that he was mad about House of Black doing what they did and hurting his boys. But if he can hurt his boys, that's a different story. So maybe that's the way that they go. I also don't want House of Black to lose, because I appreciate the continuity and what they've done with the titles, as poorly booked as this division is. It's been really sporadic and inconsistent. Your point is well stated. I hope you're wrong. So House of Black.
Perfect. And I don't know if it's coming through on my mic at all, but if it sounds like there's an elephant stampede in my home, my wife is opening in-home daycare and the kids have started arriving. So there is all sorts of stomping going on around above me.
When we last recorded a few weeks ago, I know that had just gotten underway. I definitely know that I heard it that time. So far, so good today, but we'll see.
If you're watching on YouTube, you may have seen me just look up. I was not praying, for divine intervention in these picks.
Please don't let it be House of Black.
Right. I was just looking up because it sounds like apparently an entire stampede of elephants has joined our house. Tom, you get the first pick on Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay. What a flippin' promo both of those guys cut on Wednesday. In my eyes, not my turn to talk though, yours. So
yeah, no, I'm glad you started there. However, because yes, that contract signing segment was fantastic. The emotion for Ospreay, more so than anything else, was unbelievable. I was so bought in. This match, among many, is an absolute reason why I really want to watch this show on Sunday. Will Ospreay is my pick. This is going to be incredible. Chris Jericho, for being, he's either 51 or 52. I don't know when his birthday is, but he did a recent podcast on his show where he looked at his favorite matches that he was in the 200 episodes of Dynamite. He did 15 or 16 matches and talked a lot about that. And that's when he mentioned his age.
He's actually 52, and in November will be 53.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy, because he was talking on the podcast he was, I don't know, maybe he was referring to the last year, being 51 last year and then turned. Either way.
Yeah, he's born according to what I just pulled up online anyways, born in 1970.
Even more amazing. Again, not surprising though, based on the era that he came up in, to still be active at this point. And again, active with an asterisk to an extent. He hasn't gone full novelty act. He's not Brock Lesnar. and maybe he eventually will be, but that's not today. This is going to be incredible. Both of these two, Will Ospreay is one of the best in the world. Chris Jericho, when you have a fire under him, which he always tends to, because he's incredibly motivated, he's incredibly creative, the stars rise in the atmosphere. This is going to be that case here. Will Ospreay wins. There's no reason at all why Ospreay should be losing at this level in the UK. And Jericho's smart enough that he knows how to do good business, and this is the best business.
Yeah, Jericho hasn't been afraid to put people over. I mean, he did it with Orange Cassidy, he did it with plenty of others. I hope that the remnants of the Jericho Appreciation Society that are not with Jericho anymore, it seems like Sammy is the only one there. I certainly hope they don't have Sammy turn on Chris here. They don't need that. If you're going to do that, it's been a thought in the back of my head. Then you don't have to do it here. You can do it on Dynamite next week. You do it all out. You can do it. You don't need to do it here. Just let these two go at it and have the match they can. Ospreay is one of the best in the world. Absolutely. Jericho's not hyperbole when he says that, not using hyperbole when he says that. I agree with you. Just the passion Ospreay showed. I haven't seen a ton of Will Ospreay promos because I don't watch New Japan as regularly as I don't watch New Japan regularly. Just from a time standpoint, it's not that I don't want to. So I haven't seen a ton of Ospreay promos. Of course, he has the accent and that, but the passion he had was awesome. Referencing the fact that his contract runs up in 6 months with New Japan, I think was very interesting. Because all elite, Tony Khan would love to get Will Ospreay. And Triple H would love to get Will Ospreay too. Let's be honest. If that is true, and I have no reason to believe that why would he say it if it wasn't? And he said he'll be in line to make millions of dollars. He's not wrong. That man can name his price, I feel like. I also think you mentioned at Jericho's age and with when he came up, him still going here at 52, 53 years old, Jericho bringing that into the promo and saying that he called Will Ospreay and told him tone it down, bring it back up a notch, was very interesting. And I mean, Jericho can point to himself and say, look, if you do that, you can still be doing this at 52 years old and still having good matches. I'm kind of over Jericho at times. And then I always use Jay Lethal as the example, although he's kind of gone down the road for me. But I'm never excited like, oh, Jericho's going to go into promo with that guy. Cool. But then when they get to the match, Jericho knows how to do big matches. Certain guys just know how to deliver in those big matches. Jericho's one of those. Cody Rhodes knows how to do the big match, although I'm much more invested in what Cody Rhodes is doing than I've been in Jericho the last few years. But I'm looking forward to this match. It's going to be really good. And I think for those who haven't already been exposed to a fair amount of Will Ospreay, this could be a really good, I don't want to say coming out party for Will Ospreay, because I think many wrestling fans already know about Will Ospreay. They should. But if they don't, or they're not super familiar with him, they're going to be after Sunday. So, yeah, let's go. Ready to see that one.
And your pick is?
Oh, sorry, Will Ospreay. 100%.
Got it. Okay. I you were inferring that that's the direction you were going. I just don't know that I ever heard you say that.
I may not have. Yeah, I'm with you. If they book Chris Jericho for Will Ospreay in the UK at Wembley, somebody should get fired. This might be the one that makes it. May be we're not adding the Perry Hook match to our FWL pick'ems. This might be my 10. Like, it's just a no-brainer to me.
One thing that I want to draw attention to is the call out in the build up in the contract signing about like the putting people in wheelchairs or long-term injury. I think this is a great opportunity to elevate Will Ospreay as an even more dastardly heel. If he does put Jericho on the shelf, Jericho's going to be touring this fall with Fozzy. What a great way to have a reason to sunset Chris Jericho for a minute, and also give the opportunity to Sammy Guevara, who I don't think will turn here, to come in and possibly be a rival for Will Ospreay. Again, when and how that could happen, and maybe nothing from now until Full Gear,
right.
Or maybe it happens at All Out. That would be really fast. I would actually rather have it be Full Gear. Full Gear. We'll see.
Yeah, Sammy Ospreay would be really fun. Coffin match. Darby Allin and Sting take on Swerve Strickland and his new partner, Christian Cage. AR Fox got fired on Wednesday from the Mogul Embassy. I'm going to guess that was a visa issue. I believe, I don't know why, for some reason in my head, I remember that Fox had some legal issues back in his past. And I wonder if it's a travel, like Jeff Hardy couldn't get into Canada kind of thing in the past. So I wonder if it's something along those lines, perhaps. Maybe it's not. And I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just saying I wonder. Although then again, why book it that way? And then have to make the change. Or, and maybe they knew they were going to make this change all along. And I hate that AR Fox just turned heel, though, and now he got kicked out of the Mogul Embassy. I feel like there was a different way they could have done that. Because I was happy for him that he was getting a spotlight alongside Swerve. And I thought those two made an interesting team. That could have gone somewhere with that. So I'm bummed to see that. Cage being in this match makes sense because you have Darby and Luchasaurus at All Out for the TNT title. So that makes a lot of sense storyline wise. Sting ain't losing in Wembley. Ain't happening. This might be right up there with Ospreay winning for me. Sting is not losing in front of 80,000 people. Not losing his first AEW match in a coffin match at Wembley. Ain't happening. Darby and Sting win. And maybe this is how we get straight to just Darby and Luchasaurus, maybe at All Out, and Christian Cage is buried. I don't know. Something.
Yeah, no, good call there. I like that a lot. If that's how that plays out. Christian being such a heat magnet, though, makes me think that
he'll be there.
Won't happen. But yes, Darby and Sting all the way. There's no question about it. This is probably my 10 if we're talking pick'ems and points.
Yeah, it's my 10 or my 9. There's no question. We'll just keep moving along because I know we've gone a little long as is expected here today on things because we had a lot to cover and we still got a number of matches left here. The real world title match, Tom, you get the first pick, Punk and Joe.
I know you have a lot to say, so I'm going to make it quick. CM Punk all the way here. It's interesting that I know why they're doing this match here. It makes a lot of sense that this deserves the stage, considering that it was the finals. No, I'm sorry. Semifinal of the Owen, of the Owen, and the way that went out. Clearly, there's been room. It's been decent build. These guys are buddies behind the scenes. Everyone, I think, should know that, even though they're not acting like that, which is what they shouldn't be doing because they're rivals. This is interesting, though. The way that Joe has goaded Punk into this has been interesting, and how and what they do to deliver to set themselves apart from other things on this card is really interesting. The real world title kind of gimmick. We'll see where that goes. I'm at least glad that it came back up because that's how Punk started when he came out on June 17th. And then it was like not mentioned for 3 weeks. And I was like, continuity AEW. So thankfully it's come back into the forefront, but CM Punk.
Yeah. I just hate real world, real this, real that. And I don't feel like it has anywhere near, I don't feel like Punk and MJF are at the same, oh yeah, they both are real world champions, the world title and the universal title in WWE. But I know Punk never lost the AEW world title. I understand that. I understand, you're setting up eventually for Punk and MJF, in a ladder match, for both belts kind of thing. Which don't get me wrong, that'd be really fun. I'd be fine with that. I don't know. I'm just not feeling the real world title. Even in FWL, we're scoring it as the same as the FTW title, which is to say not. It just gets a +2 as something on the line. We're not recognizing it as a world title either. Not that what we do in our fantasy wrestling league matters a hill of beans, but I think it's really, really cool that this is getting given our fandom and our history with Ring of Honor and Punk and Joe, that this is getting this stage, 80,000 plus Wembley. I think it's very, very cool that this is happening. Final battle. Whatever your Homicide won the title. I was there in New York for that show, and then we had a fan gathering post party put on by our good friend Greg, who we're going to have on the show at some point here in the future. But we'll get to that somewhere down the road and talk more about that. But our good friend Greg put on a post show, and Joe won a chance for either WrestleMania tickets or, I don't know, $100 or something like that in a contest that Greg was running that night. And Joe took the cash, I believe, or whatever the other option was. I think it was cash. And said, I'm not going to WrestleMania until I can wrestle that SOB right there. And it was Punk, who was at the post show, even though he was in WWE at that point. He had come, I assume, to support Homicide in that title win, and be there for his friend. But and so that was just kind of cool. And now to see, like, okay, they never had a WrestleMania match, but again, this has kind of got that vibe. It's got, potentially the biggest attendance ever at a wrestling show, which is crazy that is not WWE that holds that record. Or will after Sunday. You can't claim it until after Sunday, right? So cool. So Punk's going to win. He's keeping the belt, because if you're going to do this real world title thing, Joe doesn't fit in that. Trios match: Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and Adam Page, the Golden Elite, versus the Bullet Club Gold. We got a lot of gold going on in this, although no titles. Jay White, Juice Robinson, and then their partner, Konosuke Takeshita. This is going to be really good. Juice just isn't, he's not my cup of tea, but the rest of them I really like in this match. So here's my thing. I assume they're going to Takeshita Omega one-on-one at All Out next week. I feel like that's where it's headed. So my question is, do they put Takeshita over here and then Omega over? Do they go one-on-one? Do they really strap the Rock at Takeshita and have them win here and then one-on-one, have him win the one-on-one match? I think I'm gonna pick the Golden Elite to win here, and I think then you have Don Callis say something along the lines of he gets mad at Bullet Club Gold, and maybe it creates something there that has a week or two little thing, but he says we couldn't, Bullet Club Gold screwed it up. Maybe Juice takes the pin, but one-on-one you can't beat him. So on Sunday in Chicago, Takeshita and Omega one-on-one. And then I think Takeshita gets the one-on-one win, because I think that's a bigger win for him than it is here, or potentially gets a one-on-one win. We'll see. I want to watch it all play out. But I'm going to go Golden Elite on this match.
Yeah, well laid out there. Golden Elite is also my pick. There are 5 guys in this match to me that can't take a pinfall. Is that totally true? Is that perception or reality? You could argue that. The one guy that you can is Juice Robinson. So that's why I go with that pick. I thought we were getting Omega to Takeshita here, versus All Out, back when kind of the angle started to come together. It's okay that this is happening. It's a really kind of weird. I don't understand like Don Callis and the Bullet Club Gold relationship. They're not.
It feels very thrown together.
He's not saying he's paying them, right? So what's in it for them, and who are they targeting, and why Omega? And they started with Omega because they attacked him in Jacksonville, which is what led to Takeshita getting some more heat. It's going to be a good match either way. Omega could lose. So if you do want to put the heat on and get to a singles match, Omega losing is plausible.
Way to do that.
Yeah. Ibushi's not taking a pinfall. I don't think, unless CM Punk's pulling strings, you have Adam Page take a pinfall. So yeah, there you go.
And I do hope at some point they start building out the Don Callis family, because I'm a little tired of hearing him talk about a family, and I don't even think Ospreay's really a member of the family. Like they didn't say that yet, anyways. So, Tom, you get the first pick on the women's title match, 4-way, which is a nice callback to the original All In. There was a 4-way women's match. Hikaru Shida defends the title against Toni Storm, Saraya, and Dr. Britt Baker.
I feel like this is going to be a short-term championship reign.
Yep.
So my pick is Saraya. And it's because it's in the UK. It's because I think her name with the title, even if it's a short-term thing, because again, she's cleared, but is she really cleared? Because she's not been a super active competitor. When Shida dethroned Toni Storm a few weeks ago, I feel like it was made for the moment on the special Dynamite. I didn't see her as a long-term champion. Maybe she is. Maybe I'll be surprised. I don't see her walking out, and the person I do see walking out would be Saraya.
Yeah, at first when Shida beat Storm, and then they announced this weird, almost tournament-like thing, the qualifying matches, where Shida had to win a match to get into a title match, that was weird. she's the champ. She should just be in the, and Toni Storm didn't have to because she was the former champ. That was a little weird booking, Tony. You overthought that one a minute.
It didn't land well because it was a title defense, and it was the winner of the title defense moves on.
Right.
Which again, like Anna Jay could have beat Shida, and then she would have gotten that spot. But yeah, the graphic made it look like it was win and you're in, which
right.
it is. It is win and you're in.
But it was just
Shida was the incumbent.
They could have waited until right after that match to announce the rest of it, I feel like. But Tony Khan overthinks it sometimes, every once in a while. I like a lot of what he does, and then every once in a while I'm like, we did too much there. I thought that they were, at first when Shida won the title, I thought they were setting up for Storm, also from that area. Can't remember if she's from the UK. I think she's from the UK originally. Winning it back, getting that back. And then
I feel like she's announced from Gold Coast, somewhere Australia.
Australia. Now that you say that, yep. It's in NXT UK is what's making me think UK. That's right, it is Australia. So I thought it was set up maybe for Storm to win it back and get that moment, and then realized Saraya was in the qualifiers. And yeah, I was right with you. I think Shida's a short-term champ. I think Saraya will be a short-term champ, and I don't love the hot potato. If that's what we're doing here for a minute. But hopefully then whoever beats Saraya, whether that's Shida again or Storm, perhaps.
Jamie Hayter? Where's Jamie Hayter at?
She's not cleared. They wanted her for this show, and she's not ready, apparently. It sounds like it's going to be a while. Maybe the rest of the year is what I had read.
Wow.
Which is a bummer because Hayter would have been huge. This would have been set up beautifully for Hayter to get the win and win the belt back here. That would have, and I have to think that might have been the plan. But things happen and injuries happen. Storm's new character that she seems to be developing, I kind of like. I love that she never remembers Lexi Nair, and that it's like she's a new person every time. She who are you? I don't remember you. But Saraya, who's supposed to be a partner with Storm, in the Outcasts, getting the title might just send Toni Storm over the edge. And so maybe we get Saraya and Storm, which could be really fun. And then maybe it bounces the title back to Storm, which I would be okay with. I've been a big Toni Storm fan for a long time. So, Saraya, I think, does get the title here, and I think it's a short run, though. Stadium Stampede. Holy smokes. Jon Moxley, Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, and the returning Santana and Ortiz against Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, Penta, and Eddie Kingston. Okay, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound mean, and I guess I don't care. The fact that Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta are on this show, and Sammy Guevara can't get on this show, Daniel Garcia can't get on this show, it bothers me. I'm over best friends. It's never clicked for me. They've never been a team I've loved. I'm sorry. It just is. I love Penta. I love Eddie. I love Orange Cassidy. So I like 3/5 of that team. And it makes sense because of Orange Cassidy being with Taylor and Beretta. I get it all. Santana and Ortiz returning is very interesting. There are plenty of reports out there that those two men do not get along anymore, and didn't before Santana's injury. If you noticed on Wednesday, because I was thinking about that when they returned, those two men did not high five. They didn't hug. They didn't interact with each other in any way at all when they came out and attacked the baby faces. So that was interesting to me, just knowing what's been reported about their relationship. So I don't know if they're going to be a team long term. I'd love to see them in the tag division again. I feel like they were the missed opportunity, but it's Stadium Stampede, so the baby faces almost have to win, right? I don't want them to, though. I want to pick Blackpool Combat Club. Does Renee turn on Jon Moxley after Eddie Kingston said you saw what your husband did? I don't know. I'm going to pick the baby faces because it's Stadium Stampede, and I feel like that's just how it has to happen. But I kind of want to be wrong, if that makes any sense.
I'm picking the Blackpool Combat Club. I know that they're dastardly, but I don't see them as heels. And maybe that's weird. Maybe I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses. I also think that because they lost in Blood and Guts, this is the chance to help them kind of regain some of. They never lost steam. They're actually one of those groups where it doesn't matter what happens to them. they still remain over. Again, having Trent Beretta or Chuck Taylor here, or even Penta, is why I pick BCC. Those three are easily people that can take the decision, however it shakes out. And I feel like we're eventually gonna get Moxley Kingston one-on-one again, despite the fact that Eddie loves John loves Eddie, but they're rivals. You know, they were rivals as friends. Now they're going to be rivals as enemies. So I think that's the direction that we head.
Agreed.
So yeah, BCC is my pick. It's going to be a heck of a match. It's going to be insane.
Crazy. It's going to be insane.
So yeah, this is one of those other ones where like the spectacle and the craziness of this is exactly why I want to watch this show.
Yeah, and bummer that Phoenix, unfortunately, the report is had visa issues and can't travel over to the UK because it's a bummer for him that he's missing this platform because Phoenix is awesome. So I'm bummed for him, but at least they explained it in a storyline way and, you know, did what they could. Got some heat on the Blackpool Combat Club and got Santana and Ortiz return. So, Tom, you get the first pick on the World Tag Title match, FTR versus the Young Bucks.
So tough here. This is absolutely probably the toughest match to pick for me because I really could see them going either way. I'm going to pick the Young Bucks. I don't like that pick fully, but I do think that when you look at the story of All Elite Wrestling, I think that the Young Bucks are the right move. What does that mean for FTR and where do they go from here? And considering all the other stuff behind the scenes, and that's where this gets really hairy for me. So I love FTR. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to pick the Bucks.
So until about a week ago, I was sure FTR would win. And then, unfortunately, there's been some issues. Cash Wheeler got arrested. Been reports around that. It does sound like there's some questions, you know, whether anything can be really proven in that situation and whatever. And we're not here to litigate, you know, his legal situation. He was not asked to surrender his passport, so he's going to be able to travel. This match is happening, which for the wrestling fan in me makes me very happy because I think it's going to be great. And I would have hated to have seen FTR lose the titles, like not even in a match, you know, have to be stripped because of that situation. So then part of me is like, the Young Bucks win. I'm still staying with FTR. I think FTR does, which I like because it's giving us, you know, now 3 differences, which we don't often have that many differences, especially in AEW shows. So this is fun. I'm sticking with FTR. I think they're going to ride it out. I think they're going to ride this legal situation out, kind of see things. They can always, I mean, they've got 3 shows a week. So if they need to quickly get the belts off FTR, they should be able to do that. You know, I don't think this situation is one where Wheeler's going to be a free man one day and suddenly be in jail the next day for a year, you know, or anything like that. So if they seem like they need to make that switch, they certainly can at any point to the Bucks or anybody. I'm going to go FTR. I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right for this and many reasons. And we have the world title match. MJF, Adam Cole. I have loved the build to this. I'm okay with the silliness of the skits and things. Some people haven't loved it. It's classic MJF, though. I mean, he's done that with Jericho. He's done it with. You can tell he loves doing kind of that silly stuff too. He's so good at the kangaroo kick. My goodness, just the most ridiculous thing. They're already doing the double clothesline as their tag team finish. Like it's almost like they're making fun of wrestling fans, and we're like, "Yep, keep doing it." We're gonna cheer the stupid stuff. This has just been so fun, and still I don't know. Like Adam Cole could turn and do the dastardly thing. I think they're both going to end up doing something dastardly during this match. They're both going to take a shortcut. And I almost wonder if Cole takes the first shortcut, and then MJF's like, "All right, you want to go down that road? Like, I'm the devil. I can do this." So I think it's going to be really, really fun. I would love to see Adam Cole as AEW World Champion at some point. I've been an Adam Cole fan since he, started in Ring of Honor and as part of Future Shock and all of that. I'm going to be buying those Future Shock figures when Ring of Honor, those 2-packs come out with Jazzwares. But I don't see that here. MJF is my pick to win. probably through a dastardly way. Maybe we still get another match. Maybe these guys do it again at All Out. I don't know. Because I don't see a path to what else either one of them would be doing unless we do an angle on Wednesday to set up their next thing, each of their next things. But MJF wins the match, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
MJF is also my pick to retain the title. It's going to be very interesting for me. I loved the 30-minute draw they had. I love what they've done since then to build to this and how it's all come full circle. You have the blind eliminator tag tournament. You have just everything. It's been really, really interesting storytelling. It's been quirky at times, which has been okay. Like you said, I think they're in a way kind of like doing a nod and a wink at wrestling fans. Again, Roderick Strong, the Kingdom, where do they fall here? Does Adam Cole turn heel? That would make the most sense for me.
Yep.
Does MJF stay or does he go even further babyface? If we're looking eventually to a CM Punk MJF match, MJF as the babyface in that role is probably the route you want. I think it's easier for people to hate Punk than it is to hate MJF, even though he can do that on a dime. So all of those factors, which we don't know anything about and we'll maybe see, maybe we won't see Sunday, all are on the table. So, but one thing I do think for certain is MJF retains. He continues. Again, he's going to be shortly here coming up on that 1 year. I think he makes it to the year without question unless something unbelievable would happen prior to that. My big question is where does Adam Cole go next? And then with whom does he do that?
And I think there's a good chance that Adam Cole aligns with Roderick and the Kingdom. And we have the Kingdom of the four of them. They always call it the crowns when they're doing the four, or the three. Was it three? I don't remember. Whatever number they always threw up. They could do four though. I think that's a path that could definitely happen. So there we have it. We have three differences on this show. The World Tag Title match, the Trios match, and the Stampede match are all our differences. So it'll be fun to see, either Tom could take a really commanding lead here. We could, I don't know if we could pull even. Yep, that could happen. Or maybe I jump over Tom, take the lead here after All In. So, and then two shows to pick next week. Again, probably won't be able to record next week, but we'll get our picks put up on Twitter, the X, whatever, stupid. And then hopefully we'll get into a little more of a regular routine here as the fall comes along. Look for us, though, in a couple of weeks to not only talk about all of the shenanigans of these wrestling shows, but with our NFL picks. Both of our teams have interesting years lying ahead of them in the Lions and the Bears, so I think there'll be some good conversation around that and seeing where we think both our teams and others are headed. So fantasy football coming up. Yeah, it's, as I said to Tom in a message earlier in the week, it's the most wonderful time of the year. So some people say it's Christmas. For me, it's football. So, Tom, it's been a blast. I got to go to work. Goodness. But have a great day, everybody. Enjoy All In if you're able to watch it this weekend. Enjoy whatever you're doing this weekend. And we'll be back with you soon here at Two Spot Monkeys.